Good morning, Bulldogs. Today we're going to be able to describe the differences between the Lutheranism, Calvinism, and Anglicanism. Yesterday we were introduced to Martin Luther, and we got to know him a lot more in depth. If you were in the building, we got to, while we were working on independent practice, we got to have the PBS doc, Martin Luther Driven to Defiance in the background while we worked, which some of you guys were really into, maybe a little into too much because it refrained you from actually working on what was in front of you. But today we're going to talk about two other churches or denominations of Christianity that came out of that Reformation period. Today is National Missing Children's Day, so every single day, thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of, I want to say students, but they are students, but children are missing throughout the world. And so today is just a day to recognize the work that is good and amazing that goes into trying to find these missing children. So that is what today's National Day is. We have the do now. We have a little bit more notes today because there are some extra keywords, more than we usually have had recently, and then guided practice and then independent practice. If you have not done the quizzes assignment from yesterday, that is for a grade. I know some of you had issues, who were in the building had issues reaching that site, and that we've spoken and we've got that issue fixed. But make sure that if you did not do that quizzes, that you will do it today. Also, you do have an actual quiz tomorrow over the differences between these three churches. So today's lesson is extremely imperative to help you with tomorrow's quiz. All right, for our do now, we have 3 review questions. So similar to yesterday's lesson where the questions were, the content of the questions was from previous units, to kind of review and see what you still know, what your brain retained. I know my in-building students, the Notre Dame kiddos, did really well with their 3 questions. So I'm hoping that that was the same for all of you. So go ahead and pause the video and answer these 3 questions, and then we will get started with our notes and the lessons after we go over them. So go ahead and pause. All right, so the first one important impact of the Mongol expansion across Asia and Europe was its rise in trade along the Silk Roads. Remember, the Mongols made the Silk Road safe, highly monitored, and so the trade really was able to start to flourish again. Fasting during Ramadan, praying 5 times a day, giving charity to the poor, followers of this religion engaged in these practices. That would be Islam. Those are 3 of the 5 pillars. The worldview shifted from otherworldly to secular. Greek and Roman ideas were revived, and improvements were made to the printing press. Which occurrence is the most closely related or associated with these aspects of the Renaissance? So the top is 3 aspects of the Renaissance. Now they're giving us other options that we would potentially add to that list. So the answer to that is 3, that Galileo published information about a heliocentric or sun-centered universe. All right. Original sin, predestination, blasphemy, and theocracy are our words today. There actually should have been like 3 more, but I was like, those aren't essential, so we're just going to keep it moving. Original sin is the Christian belief that all people are born into this sinful state. So for the visual, the biggest piece of artwork that goes with this concept is Adam and Eve reaching for the apple. They just originally, during their creation or when they were created, they were just naturally born into this original sin, reaching for the apple, that type of thing. And so this is what, when Martin Luther is talking about the key to salvation is faith, the key to being saved away from this original sin is what he's talking about. Predestination, this is an idea by John Calvin. This is the idea that you are already, the people going to heaven are already chosen by God at the beginning of time. So rather than earning your way to heaven through good works and sacraments, like all of the sacraments, It's already been decided for you. So if you are chosen to go to heaven, you should just strive to always do those right things so that that doesn't change. Blasphemy is an act of disrespect towards God. Usually, if I didn't put a visual because you typically when you put a visual, it's just like people being bleeped out from cussing. But like a lot of people will consider blasphemy like using the Lord's name in vain. So saying, "Oh my God," some people would say that's blasphemous because it's disrespectful. Theocracy, a government or state in which God is the supreme ruler and religious officials govern in God's name. So we do have some, we'll look at a map in a second. There are still some theocratic uh, countries and regions in the world today. But we, as the United States, are not theocratic. We do have prevailing religions, Christianity being one of them, but we are not run, like our government laws are not based off of the Bible. We have separation of church and state. So go ahead and pause and get that down, and then we'll look at that map so we can see which regions of the world do run theocratically. All right, so this is a map of current theocracies. You can see most of these are in the Eastern Hemisphere. So we're looking at Northern Africa, we're looking at the Middle East. And for the green, anything that's green is Islam. Remember, if you remember back to our Islamic civilizations unit, Sunni Islam is the most popular. And then that is the darkest green, as far as if you were going between Sunni and Shia. And then over here in the like Persian area, we see a lot of Shia Islam, and that's that region that is, or that's, the more stricter, or that's, oh my God, that's English is so bad, Miss Sego would kill me. That's the more strict version of a theocratic Islamic state. So, but here, these are all countries that are run based off of their religion. All right, so we are going to go through Lutheranism first, and I'm basically going to go through this quickly, and then I'm going to set you free. It's very straightforward. It's very similar to last week when we were filling in the charts of people. I'm just asking for basic information for you to pull from each religion, and then you're just going to fill in the chart so you have that. And you want to look it over because all of this information you have in front of you in this lesson is also on your quiz tomorrow. So there's really no reason for you to do well tomorrow because I'm not springing anything on you. All right. The first major Protestant sect was Lutheranism. Luther was a Catholic priest and scholar. This is review. He taught scripture and theology at the University of Wittenberg. As he studied the Bible, Luther became troubled. He could not find a basis in the Bible for many church teachings and practices. He was also upset about corruption in the church, especially the sale of indulgences. Again, review. He tried to work out his differences with the church, but after his views were condemned, he started the movement that became Lutheranism. So basically, one of the big things that Luther found was that the Catholic Church said there were 7 sacraments, 7 rituals that people needed to perform to be saved, and Luther could only find 2 of them in the Bible. So he's kind of like, or no, 7 of them. Yeah, he could only find 7 of them in the Bible, so he's like, yeah, that's not what we're going to do. Luther and his followers disagreed with the church about sin and salvation. Catholics believe that people earn salvation by following the teachings and practices of the church. Taking part in the sacraments was essential. For example, the sacrament of baptism wiped away original sin. In Christian belief, this was the first sinful state passed on to all people by Adam, the first man created by God in the Bible. Once they were baptized, people needed to pray, take the sacraments, follow rules laid down by the church, and perform good works. Lutherans denied that people could do anything to earn their salvation. Salvation, they said, was God's gift, which people received in faith. People would be justified or saved if they sincerely believed in Jesus Christ, were sorry for their sins, and accepted the words of the Bible as the truth. Luther called this justification by faith. Those who have faith perform good works and avoid sin because God commands them to, not in order to earn salvation. So it's kind of like this intrinsic motivation. Like you guys have a lot of extrinsic motivation since you're young. You want to do well in school so you don't get in trouble. You want to do well in school so you get the new shoes. You want to earn dollars so that you get a high paycheck. Um, Whereas in Luther kind of believed in this intrinsic point of view that was, I want to earn dollars because that will make I want to earn dollars because it makes me better. I want to do good in school because it's going to help me later. Like it's not about like things. So it's not about being given salvation. It's about I'm doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And God tells me this is the right thing to do, so I should do it. Lutherans rejected traditional sources of religious authority, such as church councils and the Pope. They believed that the Bible was the only true source of religious guidance. Reading the Bible was the only way to learn how to lead a good life and gain faith in God. Lutherans published the Bible in several languages so that people could read it for themselves. Lutheran churches services combined Catholic practices with New Lutheran ones. Oh my gosh, I'm tongue-tied. Lutherans met in church buildings that had originally been Catholic. Like Catholics, they used an altar, candles, and a crucifix, so that's Jesus on the cross. In many ways, Lutheran services resembled the Catholic Mass. The services included Holy Communion, so that's when you walk up, you take the body of Christ, the bread, and the blood of Christ, the wine. Bible readings and sermons in which clergy explained the day's lesson from the Bible. Like Catholics, Lutherans sang hymns. Luther believed in the power of music. He wrote hymns for his followers to sing, and he used German words and often set hymns to popular tunes so everyone could sing them. Other parts of Lutheran worship were different from Catholic practice. Prayers were written and spoken in German, not Latin, so that everyone could take part. Instead of having 7 sacraments as Catholics did, Lutherans had just 2. Oh, see, I was right. Originally, I questioned myself. I went 2 sacraments, and I was like, wait, no, 7. No, I was right the first time. Always trust your gut. 2, sacraments, baptism, and the Eucharist. Luther believed that these were the only 2 sacraments that are clearly stated or named in the Bible. All right. And then it goes on to talk about community life, so how people should live their life day to day in the Lutheran Church. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill out some charts, or what you're going to do. I already did it. And we're going to just jot down basic ideas. So beliefs about sin, what was the ultimate source of authority, what were some rituals and worship, and then how did community life. So go ahead and pause the video and fill this out based off of Lutheranism. If you are in the building, you should have the text with you on paper so that you don't have to click back and forth if you don't wish to do so. Go ahead and pause. All right, so this is what I took out of it and what mine should look like, or what mine should look like, what it does look like. And so beliefs about sin and salvation, that salvation was a gift, justification by faith, Bible's the ultimate source of authority. There were only 2 sacraments. It was mostly the same as Catholic though, and sermons were in German. And he believed in strict discipline and prayer was required before meals and bedtime. So pause and get those down, and then well, I'll pause and get those down. And then you're going to do the same thing for Calvinism. Calvinism is interesting. The last part, the community life of Calvinism always really interested me. It's very strict and odd. It's very, if you're familiar with it's kind of like footloosey. It's like illegal to dance and stuff. So you'll do the same thing, and then you'll do the same thing for Anglicanism and King Henry VIII. And then you're done. So you're just filling in the chart. Again, very straightforward. Feel free to scan for key information. Again, use the subheaders in blue that tell you exactly where specific information is. And I will see you guys, well, I won't really, well, I'll kind of see you tomorrow. But remember, quiz tomorrow over these 3 churches. All right? See ya later. Where is the pause button?